Are you going to sing the intro?
I could. Stop. No, that's they say pucks on net.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Pucks on net. Pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
I am too cool for you guys.
Oh, we get a lot of shots. Everybody come to their net. We just have to get more and more pucks to their net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
Get pucks on net.
Continue to put pucks on net.
Something about pucks on net and good things happen.
Pucks on net.
We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net.
Pucks on net and driving and making a hard night on them.
5 long years.
Live on tape from Geeta's apartment for Palatial Estate on the 23rd floor. There's 32 floors in this building, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, Paul. This is Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast. Doesn't talk about fantasy or fancy stats. We're going to be talking a lot about those Winnipeg Jets. It's all over but the crying for the Winnipeg Jets. Calling it.
Yeah. Vegas going home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To Hockey Town.
Yeah. Hockey Town, USA.
Yeah, it's not Detroit anymore. They lost that.
Yeah.
They lost that in the last riot.
Well, no, they're selling everything in Detroit. You want a square block? Move right in. It's only $12 for the property and the houses.
Okay, but wait, what happens to the Vegas fans when next year they don't win the Stanley Cup?
Well, they won't know. They
won't understand the losing.
Yeah, they'll just, that's supposed to happen every year. And yeah, it's going to be sad. It's going to be very sad for the Golden Knights next year. I agree.
I feel real sorry for Ovechkin and the Capitals when they have to face the Golden Knights.
My name is Ryan Chapp. I'll be your host for the evening. Joined to my immediate left, riding shotgun, is Geeta. She owns this establishment, and she's fresh off a 5-day Indian wedding.
That's right.
How do you feel?
I too am very, very sweaty. It was a very, very exhausting week.
Now, here in Vancouver, we should explain that normally, and a lot of times on the podcast, it is miserable. It's usually very dark when we do these shows, and it's cold and rainy.
And I was going to say, the weather outside isn't too good either.
But now it's about 27 degrees. We're sweating our asses off. We look like we are about to be interrogated.
Like Ryan is literally glistening.
Yeah, like I was setting up the microphones, just shimmering.
I'm wearing like 3 layers right now, and I don't think I'm even sweating.
But tell the listeners why.
My car has air conditioning?
No, because he said it's going to get dark and cold when we're done.
He wishes. That's when it gets even hotter, Paul.
I don't know.
I want to thank you for joining us wherever you got us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, PucksNetCA or PucksNetCa. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can head on over to patreon.com/pucksonnet where you can pledge a couple of bucks. And we have 2 new backers this week with names I am not going to screw up.
Okay.
Now that is
like John Smith.
For $5 pledged by Taylor Battle.
Okay.
Taylor with 2 L's. Could be a fake name. We don't know that. And
Taylor with 2 L's. So it's not Taller? Because I have met people named Taller before.
Taylor.
Okay, there's a Y.
Okay.
Taylor Battle, $5. And Eric Redfern, he pledged $5 as well. So I want to thank you very much for your hard-earned dollars. That helps us out a lot.
Thank you.
And if you do want to help us out and get instant access to all our bonus content and our Jim Bending episode, all our previous stuff we ever put on there, you get that instant access when you pledge $5. So that's patreon.com/pucksonnet. And I will say I'm only going to hold the show hostage 1 more week because about getting iTunes reviews, because we've gotten a handful of them.
Sorry, the Jim Benning episode? Is that what you're talking about?
No, getting some iTunes reviews.
No, like what are you holding hostage?
Holding this show hostage.
Oh.
Where before we start being funny and entertaining, I have to go, please go to the Apple Podcast app and rate and review the show.
I want you guys to kill that wasp because I don't want to be home alone with him.
Is there a wasp? Oh, look at the size of that wasp.
How did it get up here?
I have flowers.
You're
now.
borderline in space.
I know, but you gotta kill it for me.
Okay, right now?
Oh no.
Let's just watch
All right,
it.
you guys keep doing telling people to review things. I will kill the
All right,
wasp.
I'll take your mic up. So this is really funny. We're going to talk about this. Yeah, go rate and review the podcast on iTunes. Oh, jeez.
What?
P-Max, this is where P-Mac dies. He gets... This is just like, what was that, My Girl? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Macaulay-
What do you want? A napkin?
Use a paper towel or a cloth.
Squash and wipe.
Okay.
All right, so we're...
I am a girl, and I don't want to be home alone with something that flies.
This was not a planned bit to start the podcast of P-Mac having to kill a really big wasp. I don't know if that's a queen, but it's pretty big.
Queens don't leave their hives, do they?
We're gonna hit pause on the recorder. We're gonna kill this, and then we'll be right back. I muted the mic, so that's unfortunate. Long story short, it was a Nike running shoe against Geeta's glass window, killed the shoe, and I kind of intervened when I didn't need to. So P-Mac, you could have killed him yourself.
I went over there with a shoe, and Ryan goes, "Don't use a shoe," and pushes me away, and then starts flailing at it with a dish rag, and it just pissed him off.
I was under the
So then
impression...
he's like, "Give me a shoe! Give me a shoe! Throw me a shoe!"
And then Paul's looking at me like, "You're such a dumb idiot." And then I'm like, "Give it to me!" And then I thought we would have such tough brute strength that we would smash the window and it would fall onto the people below. So that's why I said, "Give me a tea towel."
See, in
I
Madagascar,
don't know if insurance covers you knocking out the large window.
It's pretty big.
we killed a lot of large insects in Madagascar, so I've got experience with
right.
larger.
And I feel like Paul needed the practice going to Winnipeg.
Yeah, big mosquitoes there, size of your head.
Yeah, the heat's not bothering me here, so I need to go to Winnipeg where it's a good 10 degrees warmer right now.
And they're large flying insects.
Yep.
And we're not talking about Mark Scheifele. I was just saying before he got here that I love Mark Scheifele, but I have no idea what he looks like. Like, I couldn't identify him in a police lineup.
That's the trouble as a locker room reporter that I have is all the players that are like my age and older I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. But it seems like every kid, and now it's like most of the league that's younger than me, I know some of them.
Yeah.
But you go into the room and it's like, it's all these generic looking youngsters.
Excuse me, boy. Who are you?
I can usually identify them, but there's a lot of times where I'll stick a mic in and I'm looking around to see who else is in the room, and then I look at who I'm getting on tape.
And it's a stick boy?
That hasn't happened yet, but I'm like, I don't know who I'm getting audio from because he's talking to somebody else.
That's the thing, right? All the youngins, they're clean shaven, they've got dark brown hair and a side part.
Yeah.
Can you put your jerseys on, fellas? I need to know who you are.
Or just the hello, my name is name tag.
It would be nice.
There are tricks. When you really get stuck, you look at like if they're duffel bag, their hockey bags in front of them, the numbers are on those.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for the road team, of course.
Yeah, for the road team. I mean, I know all the Canucks. I see them often enough. But some of those road teams, the youngsters, it's just...
There's a couple of Canucks that you wouldn't recognize. Adam Cracknell. Remember that guy?
He hasn't been here for years.
I've said it a number of times.
Well, a couple-
even though, I live in Yaletown, I wouldn't recognize a Canuck if he hit me in the head with a puck.
So some unfortunate news in Winnipeg as we're recording. There's about 2 minutes left in the Jets Golden Knights game 2. They're going to go back to Vegas with a split. Were you watching this game, P-Mac?
Yeah, I caught the first 2 periods before I started to drive over here.
Well, that's great because I've cost the last 2.
They didn't look very good.
Well, they opened up. They looked pretty good. And they hit some posts in the first period.
Lots of bad luck.
And it looked like they were maybe feeling a little defeated, and Vegas was maybe taking a little, Lady Luck's on their side. They know a thing or two about gambling and luck. Down in the Devil's State, Nevada.
In Hockey Town.
In Hockey Town, NV. There were a lot of posts on the Jets' part in the first period, and that's all it takes. You know what? Marc-Andre Fleury didn't look very good in the first period.
He was all over the place, and he was kind of flailing, and like the first couple chances. Mark Scheifele, I know it's him because he had his jersey on. If it didn't have the jersey on, it could have been anybody.
Right.
But he had a really good chance, and he was swimming like Luongo would, of looking for the puck behind him.
There was one that got past him. The defenseman had to clear out.
Yeah.
There's some posts. Yeah, it's like if you don't take advantage of a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury when he has a moment like that,
Yeah.
it'll bite you usually. And then he's looked great since then.
Well,
or at
'cause
least the second period, he looked pretty good.
Because it's easy to throw him off.
very easy.
But then when he's on, he's on.
What if we put a wasp over behind the Vegas Golden Knights net? Maybe he's allergic or he's scared of bees or wasps or hornets.
And you just give him a little towel to deal with it.
Like one of the Winnipeg whiteout towels.
But I'm confident because I've fallen, and I had not until probably until the last round when they started playing Nashville. Like I absolutely fell in love with Winnipeg, and I feel fine because they've gotten at least one past Fleury, and it's not the 40% shutout rule in effect. So that makes me feel positive that he is beatable. But going back to the dessert in Hockey Town, Nevada, like that desert,
They're still winning the series in aggregate.
what do you mean?
That's like total goals scored.
Oh yes,
Right, because that's what matters in a 7-game series.
Yeah, they changed the rules, haven't they? It's aggregate.
they
now.
goddamn might as well have the way they gave all the chances to the Golden Knights.
I said it last week. I just really want the Jets to win because I want to go to a Stanley
Yeah.
Cup final game.
How much would you be willing to pay for a Stanley Cup final game?
It doesn't matter because I've convinced someone to buy me a ticket.
Yeah, but that was under the influence of a lot of
We'll see if he actually buys us the tickets.
PMAC's big shot friend.
I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more directed to listeners across this country.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we've gotten on board with the Winnipeg Jets and we're excited about them and we want to see them go to the final and we're rooting for the city of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Do people in other places feel that way about Vancouver when they make a run, or like in 2011 when they made a run? Were people cheering because they're like, it's a Canadian team?
There are a lot of people that will say that it wasn't the case, that the country hates Vancouver, like they had that us against the world mentality.
Right.
But I can remember some friends of mine that live in Calgary, like on Facebook, that I went to elementary school with, and the bars in Calgary were done up with Canuck stuff, and you were cheering for the Canucks. So it's hard to get a grasp on it because it's really hard for a nation to identify with one solid thing outside of a Tragically Hip concert on the CBC. But what's to dislike about the Winnipeg Jets?
They don't have the history with other teams like almost every other team in the maybe not Ottawa. I don't know. Out east, I guess. Yeah, there's a bit of a Toronto-Ottawa rivalry.
Oh,
Right.
for sure.
Winnipeg has the least amount of enemies. So if anyone is going to gather a nationwide following, it's the Winnipeg Jets. And
Fewest enemies.
Because they're in the center of the country and they're neutral. No, because like if it was Edmonton or Calgary, we might be excited for them and the kids playing on those teams.
some people would.
It's hard for me. Like I generally think like I want to see most Canadian teams do well. I know there's a lot of people that go, "Oh man, Canucks are nothing."
Yeah.
But it's got to take a fair bit for me to cheer for the Calgary Flames.
It's the
eventually
division rivalry. If you've
Yeah.
been following the Canucks, you viewed these people as the enemy.
come to the final. I'm
Winnipeg
probably rooting for them.
Hasn't been back that long, so there's just
Yeah.
not that same level of rivalry with anyone yet.
Right.
But I mean, there's just nothing to like. This is a hard-working, likable team that was patient, and they didn't give up on a lot of players.
Right.
And the fan base, sure, they were pretty damn quiet tonight, but you kind of know that was going to happen.
Vancouver got a lot of hate too, partly because they had guys like Burrows and Kessler in the lineup, but also they were that much better for a couple of years than the rest of the league, and that gets a lot of people to dislike you. Winnipeg's second best team in the league, but there's still like the fact that they were the only second seed to make the Final Four, and like there's like an illusion there of an underdog, even though really they're the second best team in the league.
Well, everybody's underdog to Vegas.
That powerhouse.
More
that franchise.
more points. They got home ice advantage.
Who?
The Jets.
They have more points, right?
Yeah.
I actually completely forgot that it.
So as the only second seed to make the final, all the others were tops, division winners.
Okay.
Yeah.
They still have home ice advantage in both rounds because they finished higher than all the other
Okay.
divisions. That's why Vegas had no trouble getting through the first two rounds. Pacific Division is terrible.
Paul, you sent me a great text on Saturday night. Something about having Forsberg and net. What was it?
I just said the Chicago Blackhawks probably would have won the Pacific Division this year with Anton Forsberg in net. Or I said with Forsberg in net, and Ryan goes, Peter or Philip.
And you're like, well, probably.
Yeah.
I like that, speaking of Forsberg, I like that Cassie Campbell has acknowledged the fact that she's been calling Philip Peter this whole time.
Really?
Yeah, because I caught it over the weekend, and then she tweeted about it, and she's like, if I guess Scott Oake got $5 every time she said Peter instead of Philip.
Yeah, nobody should get pissed off at that. Remember that? I remember a Canucks game where Bob Cole called Marcus Naslund Matt Snaslin for literally the entire game. So... And like now they go to Coach's Corner.
Don Cherry still does it.
Yeah. The Sundin brothers. He doesn't have to worry about that one anymore.
Cross that one off the list.
By the way, great jacket.
A very classy jacket. He's got his cherries on it. He's got his Humboldt ribbon and his rose for his late wife, which he wears every Saturday night. I wanted to go back to Game 7 against Nashville because I found this rather odd.
Okay.
Two goals on 7 shots, and they pulled Pekka Rinne, who it was funny that like 2 weeks ago we talked about the weaknesses in the game or weaknesses on the team, and Paul's like, oh, Pekka Rinne is a little bit shaky, and like for that to be their weakness, a Vezina nominee, was kind of shocking. And so they take him out, and they keep him out for the whole game.
Yeah.
And I just... the old adage is you.
But that's the thing. That's what everyone said about that game going into and Nashville. It all hedged on what Rinne did that night.
When did he become such a liability?
It was more late in the season playoffs. He just hasn't been as good on a regular basis. Comparable to maybe Luongo's playoff runs in Vancouver, where he was either lights out or
not
shaky. But I mean, that's actually not a bad situation to compare it to, because Saros has been a bit of a Corey Schneider in the background, and youngster coming up, putting up as good, if not better, numbers the last couple of years we've seen compared to Pekka Rinne. The numbers: 26 games this year, 9.25 save percentage.
That's pretty damn
in
good.
the playoffs, 9.52.
So
I mean,
you're gonna get that every night from him. That's what Paul's saying.
I'm just saying. If the coach is watching him in practice and he's looking more confident, more swagger, he's not going and starting that guy in a Game 7. But the second that he sees weakness, that's going to be how he tries to reboot the game. And he has no lack of faith when it comes to his backup goaltender. And you put it on the rundown, so I don't want to take credit for this talking point, but does this mean trade coming for Pekka Rinne?
This falls under the Jason Spezza level of cap hiding.
Okay.
Rinne has one year left, $7 million on his deal.
Those are a couple of big contracts you guys want Vancouver to take on.
I don't want Vancouver to take on.
You're like, that's $14 million right there.
What if we get a high first-round pick for taking that on for 1 year?
I think he has a good amount of control over any trade involving him, Pekka Rinne.
Yeah.
So he's not coming to Vancouver. There's no reason it would be a waste of
hopefully
potentially another good year for him.
He would see how humid and sweaty it is today. He's like, I'm not going there. Ugh.
I'm pretty sure it's like this in Nashville.
I would assume so, yeah.
Probably much hotter.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Less picturesque, very landlocked. No cool sea breeze.
I don't think they're going to go out of their way to move Pekka Rinne, but if they did, it would be where he would want to go, where someone that would want him, like a Philadelphia would be a great place for Pekka
totally.
Rinne.
No, yeah, good point.
Just because they're looking for something.
That's right, but they would see goaltender and then they'd be like, no.
We've got too many of those. Ugh, get Vezina nominee.
But it'd be a city like that needs a starter to settle things down.
They are committed to winning without a goaltender, and they will prove everyone wrong.
Ronnie Hextall is just trying to set it up so he can have one of those games like they had back in the 40s when what's his name came in for the Rangers as the head coach and played goal and won the Stanley Cup. Hextall is really hoping that's what happens.
We've been pushing for those playing coaches for a while.
Well, why? I mean, it'd be a rating success. The stories write themselves. themselves. The storylines.
I know. Well, I mean, a couple of seasons ago, we thought it'd be Patrick Waugh. In fact, we were on a watch.
The Patrick Waugh watch. The watch.
It's going to be really awkward when he skates out for, where is he coaching for Quebec City again?
He's back with the Rempart.
Yeah, he's going to skate out for the Rempart. He's gonna go, Patrick, you can't play. There's an age. Oh, I'm one of the overagers in this game.
I'm 21 in March.
We didn't dress any other overagers, so we've just added that up, and I get to play.
Because you get 3 of them, don't you?
Yeah,
You
so
add up 3 20-year-olds.
Are you saying?
I'm not 60 years old. What, you think I'm 60 years old, referee?
And then he beats up the referee, just like the way it was back in the good old days in the queue. Feel good story. He wins the Hockey News Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
That's how happens every time.
And a Memorial Cup ring.
No more holes to plug. That's a delayed one.
Okay.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning, I like to compare them to the Vancouver Canucks of 2011.
Okay.
A little more skill, a lot more firepower, but they, by all accounts, seem to be a perfect team. That it was a matter of hurry up and win the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. And it's not going that way.
No.
And Washington, after slaying the dragon and figuring out how to beat up Sidney Crosby,
Are also like the Vancouver Canucks when they got past the Chicago Blackhawks hump.
they just went to town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why people are going to stop subscribing to this podcast, because everything links back to the Vancouver Canucks.
There's two.
Nobody cares about the Vancouver Canucks anymore.
That one time Kyle Dubas had a layover in Vancouver.
He didn't like how hot and humid it was.
Get me the hell out of here.
Back to Tampa.
Another hot and humid place.
But Washington has gone from this snake-bitten skill team to just beating the ever-loving shit out of the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first 2 games of the series. And decisive, like, effective beatings. Mm. And it's just, I could see them sweeping. They took 2 games on the road. Mm-hmm. It's something else. I did not see that coming. P-Mac?
I wouldn't count them out.
Could you see this dragon slaying being such a game changer? I mean, they are a good team. They won back-to-back President's Trophies in a non-Canuck way, bringing it back to the Canucks.
But if Tampa wins the next game, it changes the complexion of the series, too. The series is a little more, it would be 2-1.
That's right.
And it'd be a little more like, oh, we're not so far back. It's like it's like a 2-goal lead, right? Which they always say
The
is the
safest lead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Washington is one of those teams that typically, at least in recent years, everyone looks at them as like this dark horse underdog when they've been winning divisions and everything. It's just because they couldn't get past the Penguins, even if they'd do much better in the regular season. Doesn't matter because they can't do anything come the playoff time.
Right.
But they've always been really good teams.
Great team.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people out there that, like to crap on teams and players for not winning Stanley Cups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like there's 31 teams. There's 8 or 9 of them realistically in the modern age that could win with the parity that we have. They're one of those top teams consistently. So I'm like, if they do beat Tampa in 4 games, I did pick Tampa. I picked Washington or Winnipeg. I could be very wrong. My first round, 7 for 8. Second round, 1 for 4. I'm going 0 for 2 in this round potentially.
You're losing a
Who
lot
knows?
of money.
Thank God I don't gamble.
But now you can bet in any state, apparently.
There you go. But yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, if Washington does get past Tampa Bay, it's not that unexpected. And they have Alex Ovechkin and so many guys going right now.
Well, Alex, he's not that good anymore. He's only the reigning Rocket Richard Trophy winner.
He's only, second on the team in scoring right now?
Yeah. So,
That's enough.
It's so funny that you bring up a good point because I would cast off. Because we're so used to it. You would just write off the Washington Capitals.
You did going into the last round.
Of course
when
I
said
would.
Pittsburgh will probably win, but it'll be a good series. And you laughed in my face.
Because you were... I did, and it was a big scene.
Yeah, but we awarded Pittsburgh the Stanley Cup at some point or other. Someone did anyway.
I think I did, most certainly.
You've already engraved the names.
Derek Brass.
I feel like with some of these teams in the East, it's a little like the way they feel about a certain city out west, the people are like, oh, well, we're fast asleep by the time their games are on. Whereas we will say, well, their game, like Washington games are on at 4. Most of us are still at work.
You're still stuck on the Alex Fraser Bridge, and Ovechkin's got a hat trick in the first period.
Exactly. So I don't get to say that I've watched a lot of Washington Capital games because they don't fit into my life.
You don't. You're not sitting on your phone while you drive. No, you make a great point, and you just go at the end of the day. You go, oh, they're a great team. They're perfectly built on paper. Idiots will pick them to win the Stanley Cup, but we know they won't beat Pittsburgh. And then their plan, their devious scheme that they had all along, beat Pittsburgh into submission, tire them out with a rope-a-dope, and by the third year, they'll be so tired after their second Stanley Cup, we'll be sure to beat them. And now they're intent. They're like everything they always were, but now it's not against Pittsburgh. It's not a defeated handshake line, and it's very impressive to see.
Can I just ask, how bad are the expansion rules going to be for Seattle? Every game...
Oh, they don't have to play. Here you go as a cup.
Are they going to go that route? Or does every game that Vegas wins... It was okay for them to make it, through the first round or whatever, but now you got to think all the other governors in the league are going to be like... Yeah, we're glad that Vegas is successful. It sets the market up to be financially successful for years coming.
Right.
Even if they drop out of the playoffs in a couple of seasons, when they have that sort of hiccup from not being able to draft as high potentially, and building up that system. But I mean, like, the Governors aren't going to be happy with that. They're going to be like, you can't take our 8th best player, build a Stanley Cup contender a second time in 3 or 4 years.
You know what? Yeah. You make a good point, but I know there's a lockout looming, and I don't say...
And how far away are we from that?
I think it was 5.
Is it 2020?
Don't quote me on that, but I think it's somewhere around there. It's somewhere in a few years. And I don't say the fear of a lockout.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Like, well, there's a lockout. There's going to be no hockey this year.
Yeah.
But this could be a big part of the owners. Maybe this could be a part of the lockout.
But not
that becomes
even just
a polarizing
the owners,
topic.
The sustainability then, this isn't the norm, like what's happening in Vegas.
Yeah.
And the fan base is now built in because they're a winner. What happens when they're not a winner? What happens when they only win, 15 games one year, which could be next year for that matter?
Well, you make a great point because they love that team and they're all so, they're giving every chance to learn about them and cheer for them.
But unlike other cities, unlike Winnipeg, you're not long suffering.
No, the novelty there is great right now.
Yeah.
The best comparison to the Vegas situation, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar, is the Florida Panthers, who made the Stanley Cup final in 1995? 96? It was Colorado?
Yep.
Yeah, the 96 Colorado win. They made the finals a couple years in.
Yeah.
And they had that problem where all of a sudden they were more successful than expected. Yep. They had a pretty good team from the start. So then you don't get to build up that system that helps provide long-term success, kind of like a Winnipeg has had.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden when that drop-off happens, the fans are they're not that invested.
You can't get people in the arena.
It's not that exciting anymore.
They were trying to fill sections with students, weren't they?
Oh, there
free tickets for here's your report card and a free ticket.
Florida's always that team now that we're like, they would be one of the top picks to move. Carolina, kind of similar, not exactly. Stanley Cup. Well, they'd been there for 7 or 8 years at that point.
Stanley Cup, and they can't fill a rink.
Things dipped off after that.
They were they were making efforts. Like, we need to sell out. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, they have, their fan base of whatever it is. They like the Stanley Cup.
Thank God the seats are red, just like the jerseys.
But there's some really good tales out of Florida where opposing teams would be at having a pregame dinner in the complex where that BT and Team Max Center, whatever it is, and this is a story I heard where the waitress goes, "Oh, who are you guys? Oh, we're a hockey team.
Right.
We're in town tonight to play the Panthers." And they go, "We have a hockey team?" Like, no.
Yeah.
Or just stacks of free tickets wherever you want.
Also, what happens to the Vegas hockey fan base if they put in an NFL team in that city?
Well, I mean...
Not that the seasons really compete with one another.
People like getting drunk at sporting events, And I imagine that, like, I don't know where these hockey fans came from.
Yeah.
If they're all snowbirds or what. But, yeah, come when the Las Vegas Raiders there go. Mm-hmm. That's going to be 8 home games. That's going to cost as much as 41 home games for the Golden Knights. So, yeah.
Can we even afford Golden Knights tickets anymore?
You can't buy. I looked into going down for a Canucks game just on a whim, and everything's sold out, obviously, because all the casinos. That's why they're not going to be. They're not going to be like in financial problems because all the casinos and all the hotels, they all have bought season tickets.
Right.
You give season tickets to your high rollers, or you give tickets that night, and it's just they don't go, but they have that treat. So all the tickets are going to be sold. Yeah. It's just a matter of if people actually go to the games. So it's kind of unfortunate that there won't be that Vegas in trouble. People just won't care about them.
This may be the best way to have long-term success in a market like that, though, having this initial big boost to draw people in and hook them when there's no other pro sports team to compete. They do have a hockey history in a small sense because they've had minor league teams for years and years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch as a fan, just to see if they have a dip in 4 or 5 years, even sooner potentially. Right. Is this going to be sustainable? And that in itself, as an outsider, will be interesting to watch.
I think whoever gets the Seattle team, or Jerry Brockheimer and whoever else, they're going to be pissed because the other NHL teams won't overthink the expansion draft.
Yeah.
And
take our best player.
Yeah, they won't. Yeah, there won't be a. There won't be a top line of this Riley Nash and Marchessault and who's the other? Oh, and William Karlsson. Well, I mean, there could be a William Karlsson. We don't know what else Torts is not playing in Columbus.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if they'll make some changes, player or teams have learned from it to not make those deals necessarily, but they may let players or teams protect an extra guy going in. I don't think that's that inconceivable. The way things are going right now, where they're like, they're still going to get a really good player. You have to give us at least one other protection, maybe 2 other guys protected.
Yeah.
So
it'll all come out in the lockout papers. There was we're talking about Vegas, and PMAC, you saw it, you tweeted about it. Geeta hasn't seen it yet, but I got the audio. Scott Oake is becoming the unofficial premier or mayor of Winnipeg.
Okay.
Because he lives in Winnipeg.
Yep.
And he's out there, and everybody seems to love him a lot in Winnipeg. And he interviews Ryan Reaves, who is Golden Knights kind of
super goon.
He was brought in to protect Sidney Crosby, and then they realized halfway through, maybe this isn't working as well as we thought.
Right.
So he's from Winnipeg, and he is in the pregame.
Too many headshots on his watch.
So he is in the pregame interview with Scott Oake, and this is just fantastic.
He's from Winnipeg too, by the way.
Yeah, 2 Winnipeg boys, and Scott Oake has been like kind of ambushing them with wacky questions or just off the cuff and just seeing how they react. And this was that example. So this was on the Hockey Central. So a lot of people who are watching the game might not have seen it.
Can you be the answer to Dustin Byfuglien?
I am the answer to Dustin Byfuglien. Is that a real question?
Yeah.
No, we're live?
Yeah, we're live.
What just happened?
Well, that was the best part.
What? I don't have the whole thing. The next question he goes is, next thing he asks is, who can do more, who can bench press more, you or him? And he's
Byfuglien,
like,
yeah.
And he goes, me. Come on. I've been in your hot tub, Scotty. You know this body. And I just love. He's like, "Whoa, we're live! What kind of question's that?"
Apparently, yeah. Scott Oake's known him since he was like a 12-year-old or something because he follows the local hockey scene. So, high-end prospects. Ryan Reaves was probably about 6'2" when he was 12. So that's probably what he looked like when he was in Scott's hot tub, which is strange to hear. Out of
get
context.
in there if you get invited.
Let me see if I can.
Oh, because I'm going to Winnipeg. I'm totally hanging out in Scott Oake's hot tub. That's where I'm going.
He's gonna know your body.
It'll be me, Ryan Reaves, and Scott Oake.
What a
in a hot tub. It'll be like 35 degrees outside.
Mosquitoes everywhere.
Boiling hot water.
I found another crude version. I'm gonna see how this sounds.
Can you be the answer to Dustin Byfuglien?
I am the answer to Dustin Byfuglien. Is that a real question?
Yeah.
No, we're live?
Yeah, we're live. We're doing it.
I mean, I hope so, yeah. He's a big boy, and You know, he likes to run around, so hopefully I can counter that.
Who bench presses more, you or him?
Oh, me. Come on. I've been in your hot tub, Scotty. You know this body. Come on now.
Listen, the Jets, after game one, said it wasn't as physical as the games they played against Nashville.
Oh, now it gets serious.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
Well,
Yeah, there were some-
he probably had to get serious. He's like, this is going to go sideways.
There were some jokes in there further along.
Oh, okay. But it's really funny. And he has become just, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And he's having the time of his life doing these. And it's great to see.
It didn't look like, at least in the parts of the game I saw, Ryan Reaves was that much of a factor though in the second game, which is interesting that they were successful in that one. In the first game, he put Blake Wheeler into the Vegas bench in magnificent fashion. And then Wheeler didn't go after him. Somebody chopped Wheeler as he came off the bench. And then he went after that guy, and Reaves comes in. And, you can't mess with anybody else. You gotta mess with me first. And he went after Byfuglien at the end of one of the periods. And honestly, I think Byfuglien he's one of the few guys who I think could give it to Reaves. I think it'd be a fair, even matchup.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would definitely be Byfuglien, but Byfuglien kind of looked at him and was like, I got the opening goal. I think he had at least 2 points that night. I'm more important to my team as a player. I'm not going to goon it up with you here. That's all you're here for.
And Ryan Reaves is like, what is the Ted Lindsay Award for best MVP voted by the players?
Yeah.
He gets the Ted Lindsay Award for toughest voted by the players, because that's all you hear is this guy is the toughest in the league. Former Brandon Wheat King.
He's one of the few guys that's there just because of that physical element of his game.
But he can still skate.
He's a better player than, say, like Tom Sestito. But he's not that much better than a Tom Sestito. Like, he throws the big hits, and when he's on his game, you love him.
Yeah.
Tom Sestito had games like that, and he's another Pittsburgh pickup when they wanted a big goon.
Wait till he plays for Seattle.
Tom Sestito?
Yeah.
Or they'll put him on a line with Ryan Reaves. But with Reaves, it's hard for him to get...
Don Cherry gave him high praise.
Ryan Reaves?
Yeah, he said, that's why Pittsburgh got knocked out. They don't have Ryan Reaves. It doesn't matter that Ryan Reaves wasn't a part of the majority of the Pittsburgh Penguins' playoff success, but that's what cost them this year, apparently.
It's got to be Ryan Reaves. Only Ryan Reaves.
That guy's a game breaker.
He would have beaten Ovechkin up.
I was thinking about this today, and I keep preaching patience for the Jets.
Yeah.
And like Dustin Byfuglien was a force in the playoffs when he played the Vancouver Canucks and the whole Stanley Cup final run. The whole Stanley Cup run 8 years ago, he was an amazing player. And then he kind of up and down, not playing on the best team, not playing in the playoffs. But now he's a game breaker. Like, he's so fucking good, and he's so intimidating and so impactful.
It seems like his skating has improved. Like, I wonder if he hit a point where he was never a bad player.
Yeah.
But where he goes, my conditioning is not what it needs to be. When you're a guy that size, to play in the NHL, to skate as well as he's doing right now. He's not the greatest or the fastest, but he's pretty good and pretty fast, especially for a guy that size. I think he probably 2-3 years ago put a lot more commitment into conditioning, specifically with like agility and speed,
He
because
looks so good.
I think he slimmed up a bit from when he was like, what was he playing at, like 270 at one point?
Yeah, around the drunk boating act, and then the wedding photo that he claims was doctored. Remember that?
Vaguely, yeah. So I think he's probably down 10 or 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, he looks pretty trim relative to what he used to be.
But just look at having patience with your players. Like, 8 years ago he was a force, and now he's as good, if not better. Like, these careers can last a very long time. And then there's Jacob Trouba, who's starting on defense when he was demanding a trade out of Winnipeg. Yeah. And they're like, no. We'll re-sign you, and then we'll think about trading you. They re-sign him. Yeah, we thought about him. We're not going to trade you. Damn it. And now he's...
But there, he was stuck. Is he one of the guys? Let's see. Was it Byfuglien and Enstrom? Are they the other righties? I'm trying to remember. He's stuck behind two other bodies, essentially, on his side. And it's the type of thing where, like, a guy like Enstrom used to get a ton of ice time. Still an effective defenseman. Shouldn't probably be a top pairing guy. Has been moved back in minutes. And he's much more successful. I mean, it's all about playing guys in the roles, and a youngster like Trouba stepping up to fill, those gaps. And
Looks
that's
great.
why Winnipeg's playing so well right now, and a lot of these teams are looking so successful.
And they have 5 right-handed shots on their first power play units. So So that's why Patrick Laine scored that beautiful goal. But they just I don't think nobody in the league has that.
Is it 5 or is it 4?
They had all 5 right-handed shots on their power play.
It does throw things off. Yeah.
It's
Players
great.
have to adjust to something like that. It's sort of like when you get a goalie, the rare goalie that's an offhand. It almost, at least the first couple of times you might face a goalie like that. Players
Who's a
shoot a little
goalie
bit
like
differently. Are there any guys in the league right now that are reverse? It's so rare these days.
Well, who can you think of that was the reverse hand?
See, I didn't pay that much attention to it when I was a kid. I know there were some, but yeah.
You got me thinking. Good thing Geeta's...
It changes, how shooters look at,
of
at the play.
course.
Because, I've watched some videos where shooters try to break it down, and it's about angles and knowing, your puck on the end of your stick is catching a different angle than what your eyes are seeing because there's a few feet between. Things like that get thrown off when your glove hand's all of a sudden the opposite side.
So I guess we're looking for left-handed goaltenders. Would that be the term?
I mix up goalies because it's so rare you don't think about it. It's not something you look at on the stats page.
While Geeta researches this, Brad Marchand seems to be very, very remorseful, and he feels very bad about what he's done.
Did you listen to the clip, or did you just read the clip?
No, I'm not saying he feels bad for the people he licked. I think he's embarrassed that his team got so annoyed with his licking.
Yeah, I didn't hear the clip itself, so I don't know how remorseful he was. Because when you read it on paper, anytime I read Brad Marchand quotes, I assume it's all sarcastic.
I would have licked him twice as hard if I could have.
Yeah. Well, no, but you read what he says, and it's like I'm very ashamed of what I did. But the way I hear it is like I'm very ashamed of what I did.
I am the most ashamed.
I'm never gonna do that again. Wink. But they don't write the wink down, so you don't see it.
He's so doing it again.
Do you now? Let's go to the opposite-handed goaltender watch. Geeta, do you have any?
Give me a second. I'm just scrolling. It's not exactly here's a list.
You'd think they'd give you a list. Left.
What have I started? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there goes the podcast as we research.
Steve Mason is a left-handed goaltender playing for your Winnipeg Jets. Michael Hutchinson.
Martin Biron was.
And Jonas Hiller.
Is Mason on the bench or is Hutchison on the bench?
I believe it's Mason's on the bench.
Okay. That's how good the goaltending's been generally in Winnipeg. I don't even know who's backing up there anymore.
That's how it used to be in New Jersey. Nobody knew who Keith Kincaid was. And then Corey Schneider lost his mojo. And here we are.
And now Keith Kincaid's at the World Championships.
Hey,
See, I don't know if that's right because it says the 4 righties.
You're looking for left-handed goaltenders.
Yeah, and then it says Philly Steve Mason, Arizona's Louis Dominique.
The
name we can't pronounce.
Domingue, yeah.
Remember?
He's in Tampa now.
Yeah.
He got some action.
And then, Hutchison and Hiller. And I don't know if now they're right or left.
They
based
hold
on
their
the way this is written.
Blocker is on their left hand.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it does look very weird.
Mm.
And now we know, based on those listed, maybe not have a left-handed goaltender. Brent Seabrook, this is an interesting stat I saw on the hockey subreddit. I want to read it out to you fine listeners. Brent Seabrook was paid $9 million this past season to be on a draft lottery team.
Hey, they could have won the Pacific, according to my scouting report.
So he was paid $9 million. The Golden Knights, their 6 D-man core earned $8.157 million.
Mm-hmm.
What would you rather have? Brent Seabrook or these guys?
Who's these guys?
Lucas Spiza, Dave England.
Just talking about that whole defense core.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to say because you're talking about Seabrook signed the contract when he was on one of the most dominant teams in the modern age.
Yes.
And a lot of guys sign those contracts and the teams know towards the end of it, it's all the wheels are going to fall off, but it's worth it to win when they do and extend them to save a little money on the front end of that contract. And the Vegas Golden Knights had the best rules ever for expansion team picking and got to go through teams. Spiza's a funny one. Spiza's like half of that payroll right there. And they buried Garrison somewhere. And
Vancouver made a mistake, and now someone else has that problem. Even
Conn Smythe Trophy winner Lucas Spiza.
But when you can wisely pick the rest of your lineup, you can pick a few guys like that.
Yeah.
That give you that tough element that's worth the extra couple of bucks. Because until we have to re-sign Carlson and these boys to proper salaries, we could blow the money on Spiza. We're still way under the cap.
Well, if he wins the Conn Smythe, he'll be trade bait.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's
Hall of Famer.
you can't compare the two situations.
No, you can't.
though.
But it's so wild to think of how they look so good. Like Marc-Andre Fleury looks really good because he's got 6 defensemen in front of him that are playing fantastic defensive shutdown hockey at sometimes. He never had that in Pittsburgh. He had Chris Letang and the boys. Hey, don't worry, we'll score 6 if they let 5 back. And like that's one of the reasons why his year in the playoffs is so impressive because he has and it's hard to say on paper to say that that's a real defense core, but it's a defense core that maybe he didn't have before.
Vegas is a good example, and I've talked about this before, how important depth can be.
Oh, yeah.
When you talk about, like, the Canucks even in 2011, some of the advantage they had was, like, Sammy Sello was out for a lot of the year.
Right.
So all of a sudden you get, like, a 7th, 8th, or 9th defenseman on your... Not that he was that place in the depth chart.
Yeah.
But for free, essentially, because it doesn't count against the cap when he's on long-term IR. Vegas is a team where you go, like, for a Vancouver... Well, we don't need to really seek out any superstar free agent signings, try to hit a home run on a Louis Eriksson type of guy. A lot of people would tell you that before they sign Louis Eriksson, but like they're still trying to sign those guys. It's better just to get 6 guys that are like second pairing defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
Get a bunch of second line forwards, and the amount of money you save by not having those elite guys or the guys that have reached the elite status can save you a lot of money, and it's easier as an expansion club. You can take a whole bunch of second line forwards, and then a couple of them are going to be able to step up. The more you have, the more likely one of them is going to reach that first line level over the course of a year or two.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, it's a testament to not going after this summer. John Carlson's going to get $10 million, but he's not worth $10 million.
He looks pretty good, though.
He's
We'll
a great
give him that.
defenseman. It's nothing against him. It's what teams are going to be.
Right.
An Edmonton is going to be like, we really need a vet. And it might actually be a good move for an Edmonton, but he's going to be making more money than he's worth, and he's going to look like Brent Seabrook in a couple of years.
Paul, let me pose a question to you. What if John Carlson changed his last name and spelled it Karlsson? Would he get $12 million?
That's so in right now.
All the Carlsons.
By mistake?
He's a Carlson. He's a defenseman. He's in the... let's get him.
Vegas is going to acquire them all. I thought we talked about this.
Oh, I'd like that. Then they would have some funny calendar they'd all be in. And
Eric, John...
Willie.
William. Well, William's already there. They're going to get... what's his name? Out of San Jose as well. There's so many Carlsons, I can't even keep up Melker Carlson. That's
right, yeah. It's on vogue right now.
The least successful, but still effective. Melkor.
Could they put together a 5-man unit?
I think there's one other Carlson in the league. Who am I forgetting?
There is one more somewhere.
There's got to be a goalie in Sweden right now with the last name Carlson. Bring him in. Malcolm's good, but he's not that good. You can replace him with a Swedish starter.
There is a question that we got, and it's related to the Canucks. And
okay.
But we got away from our Canucks tangent for a while, so we'll come back to it. Corey Bananas, longtime listener.
Yeah.
She asked, if the Canucks could have nice things, would you rather have Carlson, the one we just talked about, John Carlson, who's going to be way overpaid, or Victor Hedman?
That's an easy one.
Vic Hedman?
Hedman is a much better defenseman defensively, and his numbers the last 2 years have been 60-some points this year, 70-some points last year. Carlson's good offensively.
Yeah.
Great in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Almost a point a game or thereabouts right now. But Hedman, when you get a defenseman that can put up about 70 points a year and is a shutdown force.
He's everything they wanted Alex Edler to be.
And
he might
young
be the best.
still.
Yeah. Johnny Carlson's, I think, 28. And
they're both probably about the same age, I think. But Hedman is just next. He was the first overall pick that took a while to develop, and that's why anytime you get a guy, you want to talk about Canucks.
Couple of Canucks.
Anyway, but you talk about, why am I totally blanking out? Finnish defenseman. Ole Ulevi. I'm not that worried because some defensemen and a lot of good ones like Hedman take a few years, and I'm not saying he's going to be Hedman, but whatever he's going to be, you're probably not going to see it until he hits his at least mid to late 20s.
So if he sucks, we won't know until he's 26.
Exactly.
When he's stinking it up.
Then you can complain all you want, but...
Well, yeah, we're trying to preach patience on this show, so have some patience.
Sergachev's probably going to be an amazing defenseman for the rest of his career, but he could just be another Ben Hutton that's playing on a better team, so his numbers are inflated. You don't know.
Hey.
Ben Hutton could be Sergachev.
You don't say bad things about Ben Hutton.
I know. Ben's still like my favorite guy on the team.
This is another question.
I bought a Ben Hutton jersey on discount a while back. I wear it to the gym. And I don't buy NHL merchandise because I'm a member of the media. But you know what? Ben's a nice kid, and it was on discount.
I bought my Michael DiPietro jersey arrived.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Team
Why?
Canada?
Really? No, Windsor Spitfires.
What do you mean?
It's like they cut out the letters themselves and heat pressed it on.
They probably did.
They did, yeah. And
It's a junior hockey T-shirt.
well, if you felt it, it would be a real. Maybe we should give it away.
Why didn't you wear it?
Because I don't like it because the logo's too small in the front. If anybody wants a Michael DiPietro large Windsor Spitfires jersey that's of poor quality, the secret word is gardenia.
Is it just a little logo on the front? There's no like.
It says.
have the name of the
it
team
says on the
front?
back. It just Spitfires logo on the front and then DiPietro.
So it's
16.
not like my dream Canucks uniform where they keep Vancouver,
No.
but they make a mini original 1970
Okay.
skate or stick logo on the
No,
front.
I don't want a Jason Spezza now that I know that you hate yours.
Yeah, now you know. You're welcome. I fell on that grenade for you. PMAC, you sent me a text. We won't go into it too much, but you sent me a text today, and he said, "Are you watching the hockey game?" And I said, I don't.
I've got homework to do. And I could just hear him adjusting his glasses that he doesn't
Ryan's
wear.
an underager, an overager.
And then PMAX says, "Oh yeah, this gives me a chance to go to the gym and work off all my ribs and pie I ate this weekend." And I said, "Ribs and pie? That's the Jake Vertanen diet."
Not anymore.
Not anymore, because
He's
is.
at the gym all the time. I see him. No, I don't.
He's become the annoying person on Instagram. In this situation, you want him to be the annoying person on Instagram that he's in the gym every day.
Right.
taking selfies.
Yeah, or if you're not, or just like, hey, look at this big fucking tractor tire I'm gonna hit with a sledgehammer for 10 minutes, or push a sled around a CrossFit gym.
Oh, so he's not just like flexing and showing us his gains.
And he's working his ass off, which is great to see. I just want to say this. He's focusing on every aspect of his game, including foot speed. He's even working with a stick handling coach.
He's already the fastest guy on the team last year, and there were moments where all of a sudden I started to go, I can see why he's a 6th overall draft pick.
Yeah.
He looked amazing in
Don't
moments.
jinx it.
But if you think Bo Horvat he wasn't the fastest guy, and now
Right.
he's one of the fastest guys
Yeah.
on the team. So the fact that Jake is working on these skills instead of just relying on his Drew Doughty hockey-like IQ is
Right.
amazing. Like the hard.
Because he realized he can't just get away by being dowdy.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Like he figured it out. He figured out what he's got to do to
Which means he's probably going to have a fairly decent career.
knock on wood.
Let's see. Yeah, the hockey IQ is another aspect, though. Like, he's got the offense to a certain
Oh, there's
extent.
no hockey IQ there.
But, yeah, what worked with Bo when he wasn't the skater he is today is he knew where to be defensively on the
Right.
ice. So it's a matter of, it's great to see the fitness for this. Jake seems like a man possessed right now as far as his physical conditioning is. If his mental defensive aspects of the game can improve as well, he could really be one of those guys where everybody made fun of him for a couple of years and all of a sudden he's that, maybe not like an elite NHL all-star, but just like the guy you love on your team that just throws the big hits
He's the
and
loser who
scores
got
important
hot.
goals.
You know what? Maybe he realized I don't want to turn into nothing wrong with him, but I don't want to turn into Zach Cassian.
It's a good comparison. He doesn't need to be a 70, 80-point guy either. He could be a very effective second-tier
Yeah.
offensive threat, physical presence, 40, 50 points a year, and that's all he really needs to focus on
Do you
becoming.
think he has that in him? 70 points, 70, 80 points?
He could score. He can score. He could score in junior. He just needs to get that confidence and just go hard to the net and just put the work in. I think he
Right.
could. But he's not like a pure goal scorer or anything.
Yeah.
But he could put numbers up.
I never want to say a guy's not going to be that player.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be that player. I don't think he needs to be that player.
Yeah.
I think if he can be on your second line and a 40, 50-point power forward, he'll be a fan favorite, folk hero for years because the physical aspect of his game provides enough for your team that you don't need him to be your Brock Besser. People keep thinking Pettersson will be another guy that could be a 70,
190 goals he's going to score.
Yeah,
next year.
190 in a season.
Yeah, can you believe that?
By the 50 game point, he's going to have 250
in the lockout year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the AHL, but 190 goals is 190 goals, right? Professionally.
Yeah, you don't know.
North America.
You make good points. This is I love citing the NHL rule book. This is hypothetical time. Rule 33.11. If all referees are unable to play and no substitutes can be found, each team picks one of their players to fill in as the ref linesman. Who does your team pick up to be a temp ref? Or who does your team pick?
What?
Who do the Canucks pick
Yeah.
to be a temporary referee in a game?
Sorry, what? I didn't get this rule.
This is a really weird one.
Yeah.
I like when you think, who's going to play goal?
Okay, so if all the referees get hurt,
Okay.
if there's no replacements or if there's no substitutes can be found, the teams pick a player for, let's say the Canucks are playing the Habs.
It has to be a
This
player?
isn't a real thing. It's just like for fun.
No, it's a real rule.
Okay, so all three refs are out. Now we need to pick someone.
Two refs and two linesmen.
That can't be a rule.
It is. Do you want me to look it up
But
on the NHL website?
Not right now, but
I
sure,
thought that's
later.
where you got that.
It's a real rule.
Okay.
That would not...
Well, what would you do?
And you can pick anyone
Yeah.
from... You'd have to pick someone objectively.
Well, it'd be somebody who's sitting in the press box. Because I'm not putting in any of my top 20 players. We're picking from the
maybe
Canucks?
the next team you play is in town.
Well, that could work too.
and just pick someone off that.
I'm picking Ben Hutton because he's going to go out there and he's too nice a guy to like call things in favor of his own team.
Isn't there some sort of goal judge person?
That's barely a job anymore. Who are you picking off the Canucks to be a temporary referee?
Someone older, someone mature, someone who's not going to play favorites. Like
the Sedin brothers.
They're in town. No, it would be like a Swede.
A Louis Eriksson. He would just put the whistles in his pocket and just go, let's just play. I don't really care.
See, Ben would be the opposite. Guys, we need to be nice to each other. Be nice. If you do anything jerkish out there, you're going to the box.
Just go.
See,
just go right there.
You frowned at me. You're in the box.
a Bo Horvat seems like he'd play fair.
Mm-hmm. He'd call it
Like
down
there's
the
no
line.
cheating in Monopoly with that guy.
Jake would stick his leg out and trip a Montreal Canadian or something.
That's why he's a folk hero.
Exactly. He tripped him,
The
folks.
legend.
He's getting a statue right next to Roger Nielsen for that trip. I'm going to look into that rule and confirm that it's real.
Jake Virtanen's like, if Alex Burrows and Todd Bertuzzi had a baby.
They'll probably just give it to Sutter anyways.
That's everything in
He's
this
an
team.
official. He's the captain. He's soon to be general manager of the club.
He's a Sutter. He's got a pedigree.
Jim's just like, well, I really liked him. I didn't think he'd take my job.
But if there was one guy that I would take the job for me, I'm happy it's Brandon Sutter. Yeah, guys, Jimbo here. I don't got a job anymore. This is a really good question that came in. This is from Spees' Pizza.
Okay.
Which current player without a cup deserves one the most out of the Final Four?
Wait, current player. Oh, in the final
Let's
four.
say Final Four.
Okay.
in the final.
Because I was gonna say the guy's out of
Jason Spezza?
No, I mean he deserves something.
He deserves a Lady Bing.
I was gonna say one of those San Jose Sharks.
Okay, that's fine.
Marlowe or Thornton.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Bobby Luongo.
Bob Luongo, definitely.
But from the Final Four.
Out of the Final Four, I'd say Stamkos because he's had such bad luck over the years. He's had to come back and deal with a bad team. They've had a quick rebuild in between, going to the conference finals.
Yeah, I'm quickly trying to go through the rosters in my mind. Like Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah,
probably
for sure.
is the
And
guy
that seems
from the
like an
Final Four.
obvious, yeah.
Vegas, nobody deserves it. Shut up.
Well, I mean, you look at like a Marc-Andre Fleury, already got them.
He's got too many. He's got 3 of them.
It's like of those vets.
He's losing track.
Neil's got 1 or 2 from Pittsburgh, right?
No, he didn't.
No, did he not?
He was on the bad years, as Geeta has coined them, the Thomas Volkun years.
Oh yeah, because that trade that feels like not that long ago, but it's been a while. The
Yeah.
Hornqvist trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody on the Jets, because, I mean, Big Buff's already got one. Blake Wheeler's been around. He was actually traded mid-year for Boston, so he didn't get one there. But I think, I would go with
Probably
Ovi or
Ovechkin.
Stamkos.
I mean, for what
Who
Ovechkin's
would you
meant to the
take a
game.
Stanley Cup away from?
The real deal, James Neal. He's a jerk.
Is he a jerk?
He was kneeing people in the head a few years back. I'm
not a fan per se. I just can't remember specific examples off the top of my head.
Eden, now are you saying they've won the cup and I'm taking it from them?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
You're taking that ring right off their finger.
So they've won it.
They've won it.
Brad
You
Marchand isn't allowed to be
Brad
stripped
Marchand.
of Stanley Cup rings.
Yeah, I'd take it from Brad just to say, now you know how it feels, asshole. Tim Thomas. There we go.
He wouldn't know. He's in his bunker 17 floors beneath the surface of the earth.
He can keep his Conn Smythe trophy because he got a few shutouts that round, but I'm taking his Stanley Cup ring.
All right.
And
He's already melted it down, Ryan. You can't take it away. He turned it into golden bullets to kill the aliens. Silver bullets are for werewolves, but golden bullets are for aliens
it's
and
good.
liberals.
It's good. Hey, whatever your political ideologies are, thank you for listening. Here's another
Just because Tim Thomas is
he's a crazy person.
right-leaning underground.
Yeah.
He's
Living
an
off
Alex Jones supporter, I'd imagine.
living off the land, brother.
Yeah.
Pat asked, because he brought up Brad Marchand, would you rather have Brad Marchand or Matthew Tkachuk on the Canucks roster?
Tkachuk hasn't had enough time to build up like a level of
But he's dumb.
distaste.
Yeah. I'd take Brad Marchand because we know that he's a complete piece of garbage, but he's a really good hockey
He is a
player.
very good hockey player. Yeah, if you're going by if you're purely originally the question phrases like who do you like more or who do you hate less?
Like if you could put a full face shield on Marchand.
A cone?
No, like the glass.
Or like a
the
cone so he can't lick anything?
Sure. Well, as long as it doesn't obstruct his vision. Go forth.
So a
you
full
just see
face
through
shield.
cones, Geeta. Come on.
It's 2018. So you're talking
Don't lick anything.
So Brad Marchand on the Canucks, he's got a full face shield.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him in a Canucks uniform?
Heads
would explode across the city. There'd be this horrible cleanup that would
It
have
would
to
be
take
front
place.
page of the Province.
Yeah. And then they would try to sign Patrice Bergeron, but they couldn't get him. So they said, fuck it, we'll just get him. A la Marc Messier.
This is, well, they put everyone on the cover of the Province. Come on. What's his
Roy
name?
of Hope.
Yeah, Roy of Hope is still on the newsstand advertisements.
And the last question was...
Derek Roy.
Actually, Yerke asked a hard question, and I didn't write it down. Or, which sitcom best personifies each of the remaining Final Four teams? And that is hard.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of was like Seinfeld would be the Jets, because you had to be patient with Seinfeld because the first few years were pretty crappy. And then it's a show about nothing, and like the Jets are really good, but like why? Look what they got on that team. Like
The only one I can think of is the Capitals.
Yeah.
Because in all likelihood, there's a lot of Russians on that club. So, I mean, they're kind of like Arrested Development, and there may be some light treason involved somewhere there. They may have committed some light treason.
The Vegas goal. This could be an unpopular opinion because a lot of people actually like this show, but this is my hot take. The Vegas Golden Knights are Brooklyn Nine-Nine because they don't deserve all of their accolades or all their sadness for it being canceled.
With all of that happening, I totally missed that Last Man on Earth got canceled, which I'm much more torn up about. Not that Brooklyn Nine-Nine isn't a good show. I do think it's a good show.
Yeah.
But I recently got into Last Man on Earth after I'd sort of watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine as it was, coming out. I like it because I like The Walking Dead, and it's sort of like a funny, light-hearted version of The Walking Dead in many ways.
Okay. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's not particularly clever, but everyone's sort of kind of likable and quirky.
Kind of like Vegas?
Yeah.
It's got some quirk.
It's got good diversity as well, which is,
Yeah.
there's value to it as a show in sort of like a more full sense. Like there's more there than you get on a lot of other shows.
And
But yeah, like I was trying to think with Vegas, it should be some new show with some new young actors who have no business being as good or popular as they are. They're kind of like the Trevor Noah of the NHL. Like, I love Trevor Noah.
Maybe they're like New Girl, where it was really good to start, but it's gonna peter out.
You're like, why is there 47 people on this show and I can't keep track of them?
I'm still
we
watching.
don't know all the players on Vegas still.
I'm still watching. Isn't the finale this week?
And that's it.
They're
Even
done.
when Vegas goes bad, Paul will still be watching.
And I'm the one that's been the most negative about Vegas this whole run.
And like Steven Stamkos and the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're just like, nightmares of the ER or something because he always gets hurt. So that one,
There was a delayed reaction on that one.
I'm glad. I really like that delayed reaction. So then we'll wrap up the podcast for this week. I hope you kept listening after we killed that wasp. And if you want to support the show monetarily, patreon.com/pucksonnet only costs a couple of bucks. What was that? A couple of bucks. And once again, I want to thank Taylor Battle and Eric Redfern for pledging $5. That money will go towards production costs, hosting fees, maybe a new contest prize. You never know when we do another one of those. And if you don't want to pledge a couple of bucks, that's perfectly fine. You can get on over to iTunes and rate and review the show on iTunes. Leave a comment because that has been very helpful. And you can go and leave positive feedback wherever you get the show. And you can also like us on Instagram and on Facebook.
Or creative criticism. Ryan's always like, leave positive feedback. You know what?
If you
We
don't,
got tough skin.
yeah,
Some of us.
yeah, just if you
I'll
don't,
cry myself to sleep, but the rest of the team will do well.
I'll give you a censored version of what they say. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at pucksonnetsier, pucksnetca. And then we'll go into 5 minutes for Ping.
Where we're going to talk about Kyle Dubas behind the paywall. I'm kidding.
You four eyes nerd. You think you're so hot?
He totally looks like that emoji.
Hey,
the glasses emoji.
The analytics show that people will tune in and pay for Kyle Dubas coverage because he's in Toronto and they've got a huge fan base.
If I could move, I would try and tell you